afternoon, and welcome to our workshop on building the real-world applications with Crew AI and an agentic AI platform. Thank you everyone for joining over here. Thank you for all the professionals as well. This is the first time that we're doing this with Crew AI, and we are very happy to share that this workshop particularly is a part of the AI week, which is happening globally with Crew AI. You can also check it on their website. Unfortunately, the CEO of Crew AI couldn't join us here today with the difference in the time zone and everything. But we have Nuvepro's team supporting, and for everyone who have attended the previous past workshops with Nuvepro for cybersecurity and GenAI are aware of the format. But for those who are joining us here for the first time, I would like to mention that this is a completely hands-on session, and we shall definitely be giving a certificate of participation to all the participants. Plus, there are also rewards around the assessment that you submit at the end of the session. So definitely considering that this is a hands-on session, I hope this session is important for you, and I hope you're able to kind of cover up most of the case studies and relate to creating and using AI on real-world applications. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions as well. I would like to quickly introduce you to our CEO and co-founder, Giridhar LV. Giridhar is also currently in the US. Over to you, Giridhar. Please also introduce yourself. If you can unmute yourself, Giridhar.
Giri, I think you're speaking on the mute.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're audible.
Okay. Yeah, I said good evening, everyone. We had registrations from everywhere around the world. So anybody outside of India, then good afternoon or good morning. Quickly give you an overview about Nuvepro before we get started with the session, not keep you holding from doing the hands-on part, which Shivpriya mentioned. So, like she said, I am the co-founder and CEO of Nuvepro. Currently in the US, and happened to meet with the Crew AI folks here, and that's where this conversation started about extending the Crew AI Agent Week to other locations. And the Bangalore part came in. There is another one going on in India. That's limited to a few cities, I think in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And I think that's also on in person. So we thought we'll do one online here. About Nuvepro, we are a skills validation and upskilling platform. We provide solutions to work where employees from different organizations use our solutions to get a project ready. From our parlance, project readiness is something where a person going through our solutions, if we say that they're project ready, they're able to contribute on day one of their project. So about Nuvepro, I did mention this. So we provide hands-on skills validation and upskilling solutions, and organizations use Nuvepro to create a project-ready workforce. Then quickly about our products, we have three main products here. We call it as sandboxes, guided project and subjective assessments. And we get all together into a skill bundle. A skill bundle can be understood to be a learning path, but with a focus on hands-on. And here the main thing is that we tie it to the aspirations of the employee as well as the business. So if an employee is to get into a new project, career progression, role, etc., then they go through this framework, and at the end of it, we can certify that they are ready to be taking up their new role or new project. About the product itself, like I said, skill bundle, it is this entire learning path, and the focus is on learning by doing and learning with examples. The use cases, it's about becoming project ready. Second one is our assessments or challenge lab. This is the skills validation part. Here you solve real world scenarios of problem statements, and it's used for measurement of skills. And then sandboxes with content or guided projects. That's where again it's a real world project with all the installed software, scenarios, data sets, etc. And it is used for upskilling. What you're going to see today is a version of this where we will have experts from Nuvepro take you all through building a few applications on QA itself. Yeah, so the use cases, we already talked about it. Then specifically on the Gen AI opportunity, in the conversations which I'm having here, I'm sure that all of you who is going having some kind of similar conversations in the organizations where you work for. It's always now with almost like 2 years of ChatGPT coming out, it's almost assumed that Gen AI will help almost every knowledge worker to be efficient. So we are all knowledge workers using, I mean, laptops, computers, etc., with the knowledge which we have gained either through studies or through work experience and making or solving customer problems. And it's expected that humans and Gen AI in the form of agents will start working together more closely as time progresses. But the challenge is how do we equip knowledge workers to use these tools effectively, right? And so where it comes in that again stressing on what Nuvepro focuses on that it can only be done with scenarios and hands-on practice, and that's what we aim to do today. And we are in the lab sessions today. You will see how we enable this because each of one of you will get a sandbox to play with, and we'll also give you directions on what can be done. And yeah, finally, in today's event use case, I think I'll let the experts from Nupro take it over. But it's related to developers. That's what I'm assuming most of the audience is today. And this is, I have close to about 30 years of experience now, not been actively coding for a few years, but documentation was always the go-to place whenever I wanted to learn new, right? But we all hate to read it. Nobody wants, at least, especially developers, don't want to read documentation, but that's where we know the real values or the real gold is, right? So how can we make this as a better experience? So that's what we are trying to do today. Yeah, so that was a quick overview about Nuvepro. And just want to conclude with whatever we started off with that Nuvepro is the place where you come to if you want to become project ready. So over to you, Shivpriya.
Thank you, Giridhar. Thank you also for talking about project readiness. While we talk about project readiness, we talk about the hands-on learning. So with no more further delay, let's move to the hands-on session of today. I would like to introduce our trainer and the expert, Tanushri, who would be leading the session. Tanushri, if you could please join the session.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I would also want to mention that if you like the hands-on session, and if you're looking for something similar or a personalized demo for yourself, I will be putting down my email ID in the chat over here. And please write down to us at info@nuvepro.com for further such demos for your teams. Thank you. You shall soon be getting a link to Nuepro's platform. You have to definitely register with your registered email ID with which you've registered for the event. And we shall share the password, which is common for everyone in the chat over here. Do let us know when you launch the platform and you launch the lab. For those who are not able to do it, please put down your queries and your email ID in the chat session. And Nuepro's team would be able to help you with the access as well. My has put in the URL for the platform and the username, which would be your registered email ID, and the password, which is cloudlabs123 and a dollar emoji. So that's all. Let us know if you're not able to, and support team from Nuvepro would be able to help you with the access. Just want to mention quickly one thing. We saw last minute many registrations in the last 2-3 minutes, and since we've started the session, so we will not be able to enroll them. But please do drop in your request, and if you still want to have a demo and practice, or if you like what we're doing today, please write down to us and we'll help you with a personalized demo in the coming week. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Tanushri. I mostly work on GenAI solutions at Nuvepro. So, let's go through the workshop agenda. I'll just give you a quick overview of what we are going to be doing throughout the session. So, first would be I'll just give a quick overview of what AI is, and then we'll have an hands-on session while we learn most of the concepts while we build the application. And also, towards the end, we'll be having one small exercise for you guys to try out. And as I said, the problem statement would be this, where we as a developers, we often find or we often struggle to read documentation, right? Or also it's very, sometimes we understand, sometimes we may not understand. So here we build an assistant where we will be feeding QA documentation and we will be asking questions on QA documentation where our assistant, what we are going to build, so will be giving us responses without you going to have to, read the documentation or anything. So it filters the relevant information from associate documentation, and then we'll explain the concepts clearly based on the retrieved data, and it provides the code. So this is what we are going to build in the hands-on session while we also learn the UI. So yes, any questions on what we're going to do? Else I'll just stop and start again. I assume there are no questions. Or if there are any questions, just let me know or put in the chat. Or if no questions, please provide us some thumbs ups.
Yes. Thanks, Tanushri. I'd suggest everybody to please log in and launch. So we are aware that you've logged in, and please give us a thumbs up once you've logged in. And for those who are not able to log in, please share your mail ID in the chat. Uh, I see one message. Support team would be taking up the queries in the chat as well. So you can drop in your messages over there. We'll wait for a couple of minutes till everybody joins in. And those who've logged in, please give us a thumbs up.
So this is where you have to log in. So just log in. So here we will have one skill bundle where it is named as building a real world application with QAI, the leading multi-agent platform. So this is where you have to come in. So I'll just wait for a few minutes till everyone come here.
Allow us a couple of minutes. The support team will definitely get back to you once they've resolved. And meanwhile, let us know if you've launched.
So we'll just wait for another 3 minutes and we'll get started. So let us get started. I'll just start with the overview of QA, right? So we know by this time we know what LLMs are and everything. So first, before getting started with QA, we'll understand what exactly the agents are. So agent is new buzzword around the industry for now. So we'll understand what exactly the agents are, right? And also we'll understand what is the difference between LLM and AI agents. So that's we'll start with. So AI agents are nothing but they're also a software system use LLMs to pursue goals or any task to complete on behalf of users. So, for example, if you just start with LLMs, right? So you'll have to go to the interface or through API. You just have to prompt it, and you'll get a response. But AI agents are autonomous. LLMs are just part of AI agents, along with some tools as tools as well. So that's the difference. So here you don't have to prompt, get response, and you don't have to tell with agents, you don't have to tell what to do unless once it is defined, you don't have to tell anything that you want to do. But with LLMs, you just have to prompt it, get it. So that is the thing. So LLMs will be acting as the brain for an AI agent. AI agent will also have LLMs and tools to actually talk. So this is the diagram you can look into. So AI agent consists of LLM, which will be doing most of the things, and also it will be having access to some of the tools. Tools can be your non-custom knowledge base or your external APIs and everything. So based on your query, it should be able to analyze what to do, and it should be good at decision making, it should be good at reasoning, and it should be able to decide what tool to use based on the query, and everything will be done. For example, LLM, you can just let's see, will just ChatGPT will just answer a question about AI, and also if it is a text summarization tool, it will generate a summary for an article. But AI agents, which is also where LLM is also part of it, once if you ask for it to, book a ticket, what LLM would do is it just gives the steps on how to do it. That's all. But AI agent will take your credentials, your information, and everything, and it will also book tickets for yourself. So here we can say AI agent will take action on your behalf. That's the main difference between LLM and AI agent. LLM is just part of AI agent. So are we clear on what AI agents are? Okay.
If there are any
So
questions, you can raise your hand. Then we'll unmute you and you can ask questions as well. So yeah.
let me move to next one. What I see one hand which is raised. You can ask your questions in chat as well. My team will get back to you if you cannot answer.
Yeah, I wanted to know what is the difference between the agentic AI and agent AI? Both are different, I believe, right?
agentic AI and agent AI, I think both are, as of now, it is like both seems to be similar. So basically, LLM is just part of AI, right? Sorry, LLM is part of an agent. So whatever that is, I think it is both similar, agentic AI or agent AI. Yeah. So the next part is just go through the CrewAI framework. We'll just go through what CrewAI is and why are we using it and everything. First, CrewAI is a multi-agent framework. So where we can develop multiple agents and we can develop an application based on it. So in CrewAI will have two important components which are crews and flows. One second. Yeah. So, sorry for that. So, crews are nothing but, as in a normal English, it's just an group of something. So here, crews in crew AI, it's a team of agents, group of agents, we can say. So that is one concept where we define multiple agents in certain crew, where it will converse, it will talk to each other, and it will achieve one goal or one objective that it is defined to do. So that is what CrewAI does. And also we can have multiple crews as such to handle the interactions between multiple crews. There is another concept called CrewAI flows where there is a fine-grained control over the crews interactions. So we'll also see what crews and flows are in our hands-on session. So this is just a high-level overview of what I'm giving. So we'll go depth into that as well. So how crews work, right? So as I said, in crew AI, crew is nothing but the team of agents. We can have multiple agents in one crew where it will define, where it will have a conversation with each other, or it may not have a conversation with each other, where it will just achieve one single goal, what it is defined to do. So each agent comes with LLM, as I said, and also external tools. So if at all it is required, tools also we have to define. If not, agent LLM is such, it's just fine. And each agent will have a task to do. So that task also we will have to define. So in crew, there might be multiple agents. Agent component would be LLM and the tools, and there are several attributes as well. But this is what agent is, where we have LLM and tool, and then we have task. Each agent will be assigned with a respective task on what it has to do. And then we have a memory. So there is another component called memory where agent, as I said, it should be able to converse with each other, right? In crew, multiple agents we will define, but it should also be able to converse or maintain context between their interactions. So that is why memory is also very important. That is one such component crew also provides. So then when undergoes all of this agent interaction, then we will get final outcome of what we want to do. So that is what CrewAI does. So in CrewAI concepts, right? These are four concepts that we are going to see in our hands-on session. So we'll see what agents are, how we are going to define it. It is very simple, and each agent will have a separate task. Each agent can have one task or multiple tasks based on a use case. And crew, where we have multiple agents teamed up, and we have a tools where agents will be using external tools, or it can be your simple function definition as well to answer your questions. So agent will have an LLM, right? Instead of just relying on LLM's pre-trained knowledge, we also need external tools such as our database or our knowledge source. So where LLM should be able to get answers from that as well to give a good response. And then we have a memory component and also the structured output. So Creo also provides this most amazing feature, structured output, because whatever the LLM that generates or that generates, right, it will be of string and it can be of any form. But what if we want to make an analysis on what we get? So we need something which is structured. right? So we can, that is the more beauty of Crue, where we can give the proper structure on what we want. So it will give that particular object, basically JSON. And then we have flows where we can team up multiple crews and then have we can have control over crews, like what crews output should go to what other crew. So here you can see high level diagram where we have let's go from right to left, where we have a crew. Crew will have agent, task, agent components would be tools, LLM, and it will be made as one crew. And like that, we can have multiple crews. To keep all this crew connected, we will have a flow. And then we will finally build an application. So this is the high level overview of what Crew AI is and what Crew AI does. Am I clear? If I'm clear, yes.
Yeah, I think Tanushree, there's a question. Can you share a few use cases on using crews, flows, agents?
Yeah, sure. That is what we are going to do in the hands-on session, right? So
Yeah, so
this is
I
one.
think yeah, I think today we are going to be talking about the developer make accessing developer documentation in a better way, but it can be used for any kind of document processing. So that is one of the first use cases. In fact, Crew AI, if you go to their web page, there's a templates page. You can take a look at that, and you will see that document processing and doing certain things on top of documentation, whether it is customer support, etc., or legal, or say even energy, etc. So these different verticals are using Crew AI. Starting off with usually a document or some kind of a database source, right? And then achieving objectives or results on top of it. Go on, Tanushree.
Yeah, yeah. There are many templates that are defined in Crew AI website. You can go through it where they have shared use cases on what, like how can we generate leads and how can we create a content and everything. So there are most good quality content is what you can see over there. So any other questions on Crew AI and everything? If not, I'll just start the lab. We'll go to the hands-on session.
So when we say about LLMs, uh, uh, in the enterprise setup, uh, doesn't it compromise the data that enterprise owns? I mean, this Crew AI would send a lot of data to LLMs, right? It might compromise the enterprise data. That's my question.
So this Crew AI is completely open source. You can even opt out for it for not. You can disable that telemetry setting. So that is how they track the data. You can just disable it and your data will be just fine. So you'll be installing Crew AI in your local system. And if yeah, that's the thing. You can disable that telemetry. This
Yeah,
is open source as well.
and additionally, uh, with enterprises, based on the discussions which we have been having, we see that organizations are like differentiating between two specific kind of deployments. Anything which has got PI information, especially like banks, right, which are they have customer email IDs or customer social security numbers, Aadhaar card, etc. All of those kind of data is being fed to LLMs, which are hosted either within the on-prem data centers of these organizations, or even what I've heard is that like AWS Bedrock, for example, gives you opportunities to or options to host your own LLMs. So even that is being okayed by the CIO organizations, because AWS by itself is completely PII compliant, SOC 2, and they have all the certifications. So which means that they take care of ensuring that none of your data leaves your VPC, right? So which means that it will be resident in the LLM which you are hosting. Secondly, if it is non-PI information, that is when these organizations are using the proprietary models, right? Which is maybe Anthropic or OpenAI, etc. So these are the two kind of deployments which are being done. Somebody talked about indemnity. Yes, the hyperscalers do provide you the indemnity of against you getting sued because you're using an LLM and it may have trained on any kind of proprietary data. So you're completely indemnified. And also they guarantee that none of your data, like if you're doing it on Bedrock, etc., AWS will guarantee that your data is not going to leave your network. So you do have these kind of agreements which these hyperscalers provide to you.
No, but l- let let's say you develop an application which is for your internal enterprise.
Mhm.
Now, this LLM would not be deployed within your enterprise boundary, right?
You can deploy it.
LLMs. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So if you use Meta or Mixtral, etc., you can deploy it on your enterprise boundary. In fact, the models such as Gemma from Google and even multiple other smaller models can run on your like DeepSeek also. If you take the smaller ones, it can run on a powerful laptop, right? As long as you have one, two GPUs, or maybe one GPU should be enough. You can run it on your laptop also, but it can run within your enterprise boundaries. You don't have to always go out.
But what about the large ones like ChatGPT or
ChatGPT
OpenAI?
you cannot run. ChatGPT is a proprietary model that is hosted by OpenAI itself. So you have to make your decision based on
Hmm.
what your use case is.
So in that case, the data would go to. I mean,
No, it
if you
will not.
choose
That's
to.
what I'm telling you. Even if you have a
Okay.
large one, you can deploy, you can talk to your CIO or whoever is managing infrastructure in your organizations. They can deploy it on a large cluster within your own organization. You have the option there. So if data security is a big this one for you, then you have to invest on your own data center and then deploy whatever size of model you want there, which is happening here. Like I gave the examples, many banks are deploying it on-prem.
Sure. Thanks.
Yes, Tanushree, shall we begin with the session?
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, this is the problem statement where we will be solving, where we'll be able to query, we'll build an assistant where it will be able to query the QA documentation, where it retrieves the relevant information and then explains the concepts, and then it will provide a code. So this is what we are going to do. Uh, Please, everyone, click on this continue project. Or start project. I think you guys might be having start project. You can click on it. So to your right, you can see what are the steps that we will be performing inside the lab as soon as we launch it, right? So first we'll just start the lab and then I'll come to this because it is going to take some time to launch the lab. We'll just start the lab and meanwhile I'll explain what we are going to do. So we'll have one workflow architecture diagram that what we are going to do about our application, and then we'll go through that first before actually starting the application, and then we will install the SQLite viewer. Uh, I'll tell you why, and then we will have to select the kernel because this is a Jupyter notebook. We will have to select the kernel manually, and then in this, there's a notebook called Assistant IPYNB. It's a Jupyter notebook in the lab where it contains guided steps, code explanations, and tryout blocks where we will be actually trying it. So there will be an actual code as well and step-by-step information and explanation as well. And we'll also be copy pasting the same code in the tryout block and we will be running it by us. So yeah, so let's wait for some time while the lab get launched. So here you don't have to install anything. So it's a sandbox environment with required libraries. So as soon as the lab is launched, we'll just go straight into application building.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, everybody else on this workshop, please go and start your lab environments. That because you can just go along with what Tanushree is going to be showing in terms of steps.
After the lab is launched, you'll get this button where it instructs us to go to lab. So we'll just go there. I hope most of you have launched the lab.
Please
Yeah,
retry
I think
and refresh it. Yes, Kimball.
no, no. I just wanted to say, yeah, just wait for another few minutes and then start again. It should come back.
Okay, sure.
Lab creation failed for me.
Yeah, just give us a minute. We're using one of the hyperscalers, so usually there's some kind of rate limits come in. Just wait for a minute or so, it'll come back. I think Tanushree can start explaining what is there, so people can go through what they're going to be building today.
So you can see my workflow, right? The workflow diagram. So here, as I said, we can have multiple crews. Maybe having two crews. Each crew would be having different agents. And you said that how we are going to how do we see that agents interact with each other. So everything will be done by crew AI in the backend. So we don't have to do anything. We don't have to set up anything for agent to have a conversation or anything. It's just a matter of enabling the parameters. So we'll also see that. And yeah, coming to the diagram, we have two crews, right? So yeah, one is code documentation assistant and one is feedback crew. So what code documentation assistant can have multiple agents. One is context retrieval agent and concept demonstration agent, and each of it will have a task. So what it does is whenever you query, right? So it gets the required information from the periodic documentation, and then about your query, not everything. It cannot bring everything. So you might ask, why can't we just give the link and then it will give us everything? Or can we give everything, like all the content, and then we'll just ask the question? No, because LLMs have capability to process only few number of tokens at once. So that is the reason, instead of, if you can give entire content, right, entire website content or anything, so it might not be able to process. But nowadays LLMs are coming up with different context windows, like million size context windows, like Gemini, and Claude also has like 200 tokens where it can process.
Muted
Where it,
bro.
oh, can you mute yourself? Where it can process a lot of tokens, but always it is good to retrieve the relevant ones. If you just give everything at once, LLMs might also be overwhelmed and it might miss out on a lot of information. At least that is what we have seen. Even though context window is good, like LLMs can process different, like large number of tokens, sometimes it miss out on information and will not be getting whatever that we want. So it is always better to give the relevant part of it. So how do we do it? We'll see in the session. So, and then we will, based on the relevant part of our query, we'll have another agent which will give the code and it will explain the concept. Very structured.
Yeah, but this just a question. This is how RAG works, right? Retrieval
Yeah,
augmented generation also
yes.
does the same thing. So what is
Yes.
it different here?
So that is what, here in the rack setup, if you want to do it, you have to do it manually, right? You have to set up the code, you have to set up, you have to set up the database, and you have to write a code and everything. So LLM Creo comes with its own tools to do it. Here you don't have to do anything. You just have to have one tool, which I'm going to show. Use it, import it, use it. It's just as easy. And also the RAG and everything, LLM can make an answer, like you can make a question and then it will give an answer. It will retrieve the relevant code from the database and then you'll be able to get it. But if we introduce multiple agents, so RAG will not always be proper in one. So if we have multiple agents, based on that, if the relevant part is good or not, so agent will decide. Agent after its decision, it will can again retrieve the relevant part. So this is the importance of introducing an agent. So that is another thing. The first thing, we will have a ready-made tool from Creo that we will be using, and we are not writing any single drag related code. The other thing is, if we want to write, or suppose if you are not satisfied with what Creo is doing, how they are retrieving, you can also write your custom tool where you can introduce multiple agents to keep track of your relevant context. So that is the that is why introducing agent is very important. Be clear?
Yes, that's okay.
Yeah. And then we have another crew, feedback crew. This is because whatever the LLMs gives, right, or whatever agent gives, it might not be relevant, or sometimes it hallucinates. So that's there, right? It's with every LLMs. So whatever the LLM-based application that you build, it is very important for us to have review. So that is why we have separate crew with one agent to review what code documentation assistant has done. So basically, it reviews whatever the questions that we ask, right? It will review that question, whether it is relevant to whatever the relevant context that is retrieved, plus the concept demonstrated from the agent and the question. All three complement each other, whether all three are relevant to each other. So this is what feedback crew does. So these are the two crews that we are going to use, and we will connect it through flows. Coming to the architecture, we'll just start it, and then we will give the query. So we'll ask how to set up an agent or something, and then we will have one documentation assistant crew. Based on that crew, it will based on the query, this crew retrieves the relevant part, and then it will explain the concepts, and then we will have a feedback crew. It will go through the feedback mechanism, whether the retrieved content is proper or not, and it will cannot go again and again, right? It cannot go like once the code demonstrator agent or document assistant crew gives the output, it can go to feedback. So it can, if it is of false feedback or if it is not relevant, it will, the feedback will be false and it should it should loop again. So we have to stop somewhere. It cannot go to infinite loops. Uh, it cannot go to infinite loops. So that is why we have kept it for 3 times. We'll check if this retry count is greater than 3, then we'll say that it is exceeded and then we'll end it. If not, again, we will check if the code is valid because we will get it from the agent, whether it is true or false, or if it is code is valid or not. And then if it is not valid, we'll again go to this particular first row and it will generate it. Else we will save the documentation, code explanation, demonstration in one file. So this is what we are going to do in our application. Any questions on this? Any questions or are we good?
Hey, I have one question. Like, we have a line graph as well for agentic AI, correct? So, what is the difference between the line graph and the crew AI?
So mostly it's also similar. LangGraph is kind of a low-level framework where it works closer to LLM, and then you will have to write a lot of code with LangGraph, right? So it's like a legacy way of doing it. So with CrewAI, with simple steps, it's all high-level framework. You just have to define the agents, you just have to define the task, and we will now. It also supports state management like LangGraph. So
Mhm.
with easy steps, we'll be able to do it with Crew. But LangGraph, you'll have to write a lot of code, and then it is kind of low-level framework, which is closer to LLM.
Okay, but how customizable will be the crew AI? Like, there will be a lot of flexibility with the crew, like line graph. Like, you can customize the lot of steps and like that. So, will the crew AI also supports that?
Customizable, see, Crua is also a building framework. So when we started using Crua, it didn't have a lot of features, but as and when the more versions were released, it was giving a lot of customization where we were able to do it. So as of now, yes, I personally haven't experienced or used LangGraph in that deep. So with Crua, yes, it is pretty much customizable. We customize most of the things.
Okay.
So the crew AI is similar to Phi data and Phi agentic AI, those agentic AIs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we select multiple LLM models for different
Yes,
crews?
yes. Different crew in the sense, without different crews, we can have different agents, right? Crew is just wrapper. So we will dump all the agents there. So for different agents, we can have different LLMs. So that is also possibility. We'll see how do we define it once we start building. I think once we start building, most of your questions will be answered.
I think all the folks who had issues with the lab creation, we are throttling it. You should start seeing your lab succeed in a few minutes.
While clicking on Go to Lab, it is showing site restricted.
Yeah, I think that must be due to your network setting. Do you have an option to use a different network?
So I joined from home, so either I can switch to my mobile network only.
So if your laptop in your backup policy then firewall will be blocking the DNS. Can you please disable firewall VPN settings, please, and try it?
Yeah, I think it start going, Tanushree. I think for most of them, the lab has launched. I think it started, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So while we build the application, these are the concepts that we will cover: agents, tasks, rules, tools, memory, structured, and the flow. So we have steps, like we have like what, 6 steps. First step would be we will be importing the libraries, and then we will define an LLM. As of now, we will be using OpenAI LLM and same LLM for all the agents. And then we will define the tool. As I said, we don't need to have RAG based or RAG code or anything. So QI takes care of it. It's one of the advantages. It comes up with a lot of the tools as well, among which this is one of the tools that we are going to use, which is code doc search tool. It is specially designed to search the documentation. And then we will set up crews. As I said, we will have 2 crews. And then we will set up crews agents for it, feedback crews agents and tasks for it, and define an output schema. This is what I said, right? This is one of the features where we'll be getting the structured output on what we want. Many of you might be thinking, okay, we can just mention it in a prompt, it will come. So it will come as a string, but not as an object that we want. So that is one important thing through this thing. And then we will define the format instructions, and then we will set up the agent and task for feedback crews. And then we will define a crew, and then we will set up a flow. As I said, since we have more than 1 crews, we will have to wrap them in flow, and then they should be able to connect it, and then we will start the application. So these are 7 steps that we are going to perform. So coming for first, you might see run this cell, right? So please run it. So it is not related to any crew AIs or anything. Just run it because it will be setting the crew AI package part to the system. And then, as I said, we first before getting here, we will just install the SQLite viewer that we will see. Why do we need it? SQLite viewer. You can install any viewer. I'll install the third one. It is just to visualize how it does. That's all. How it stores the information, how the website information stored in ChromaDB. So that is the thing. And then we will select a kernel. To your right, there's a button. There's an option to select a kernel. Click on it. Select Python environments. And then select first kernel, which is recommended one. So to your right, there will be an option to select a kernel. Click on it. Click on Python environment and select the recommended one. So are we clear till now? If you are clear, give us thumbs up. Okay. So we'll just run this cell. So this will set our path. So you don't have to worry about it. Just run it. It has nothing to do with our application. Okay. So first we will be importing libraries. So since we are dealing with OpenAI and everything, so we have to install libraries. We install import OS. This is to deal this library that deals with operating systems. So now we will be accessing the API key from .env file. So to do that, we need this. And then we'll also have a load underscore .env to load the variables from the environment file, .env file. And then from crew AI, we will import agent crew, task, LLM. These are the ready-made agents, not of methods to define an agents. We just have to import it. And tools that we are going to use is a code docs search tool. So these are all the things that we need to build our application. To copy this, you just have to click 2 times, double click in this particular section, and then copy the code, just the code, not the first and last line, just the code. Copy it. If you want to read the explanation, you can feel free to do so. So as I'm explaining, I'll just skip that part. You can toggle it. The explanation will be closed. I'll paste the code in tryout block, and then you can run it. So once it is imported, we are done with the first step. So for the first 3 steps are all setting up. That's all. And then we have an LLM. So one of the major advantages is AI will be using or uses light LLM in their backend to connect with multiple providers. So here you just have to define the model and model parameters, provider name and the model parameters. That's it. You don't have to write various clients for various kind of models that we are going to use. You just have to import LLM class, LLM module from AI, and you just have to mention the model and its parameter, and that's it's just done. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to write the client for different providers because QA in the backend will be taking care all of it. So we'll be loading the environment variables and then this thing. So we will double click on the code, copy the just the code, not the first and last line, toggle the explanation, and then try out the block. In that tryout block, you can just copy paste it. So
I think Tanushree, some folks' labs have just got created. Maybe you want to just go back to the first step and quickly come down and show what you have done.
So first, these are the concepts that we will be covering, and then first step is the setup step. So before setting up, you just go to extensions where you have to install SQLite Viewer, SQLite Viewer, and install it. So that is first thing. And then to your right, you have a option. You will be having an option called Select Kernel. Click on it, and then you will get 2 options: Python environment or Jupyter environment. Select Python environment and select the recommended version. So that's first thing. And then we'll have you guys might be having run this cell method, right? So you just have to run it. You don't have to worry about what it does or anything. It will just set system path, create to the system path. So it's just that just run the cell. It has nothing to do with our application. And then 1 second. You might be having, for each of the steps, you will be having code, explanation, and tryout. So here, if you want to copy this code, double click on that code and copy just the code part, and then don't copy the first and last line, and come again, toggle the application, close the application, and then just paste it in tryout block, which is a Python cell, then run it. So that is what you want to do. So these are some of the libraries that we will be using: OS libraries and load.env libraries to actually access the API key, which is set in .env file. And then from QI, we'll be using agent, crew, and task and LLM. So as I said, we will be defining agents in the crew, and each agent will have LLM, and each agent will have corresponding task. To do all of that, we have ready-made components. And then we have crew AI tools where we will be using, our agent will be using. So that also will be imported. So this tool specializes in technical documentation, a question and answer. Yeah. So the next one would be defining an LLM. So we'll just load the LLM, load the OpenAI key from .env file, and then we'll just define the LLM. That's it. So as I said, LLM QA uses Light LLM in the backend, which will connect to various providers. So you don't have to maintain or anything. You just have to write the mod provider and the model name, and you're just done. So I'll copy it, paste it in terminal and execute it. So shall we move to the next step, defining the tool?
I have a query here. In second step, can we configure it with the local running Olama server?
Yes, yes, that is also possible. CrewAI provides a flexibility on that as well. That is also possible.
Sorry, I was not able to see SQLite. Can you I missed those part. Can you please repeat?
Go to this extension bar, right? Extension bar, extension icon. Just type SQLite viewer or SQLite, will get it. And then here you might find install option. When you click on it, just install it. Is it clear now?
Yeah, but I'm not getting that option.
Okay. Is it not this? Are you sure you're not getting? It is available in the marketplace, and you will have to get it actually. Okay. So we will be putting that name in the chat. You can just copy paste it and you might get it. Yeah. So the next step is to define the tool. As I said, our agent will be using this tool, code doc search tool, which is good at reading or giving, technical documentation and providing us the answer. So someone asked, what is the difference between drag, or how is it different, right? We can just call it as an agentic RAG. So we will introduce agent and drag, but the only thing is we don't have to worry about how do we set up anything. We just have to import what is available in what are the tools that are available. UI covers most of the tools. You can go through with their documentations, and then we just have to import and use it. And also we can introduce an agent. So yeah, it just makes our RAG app better. That's all. And then we'll just copy it. And also docs it comes with one of the parameters where you have to provide the documentation name. And then copy it. Paste it in the tryout. So what it does is, this tool in the backend, it goes to that particular URL, scrapes everything, and then it will store it. QAI stores it in ChromaDB. So what it does, ChromaDB, for people who don't know, it will store whatever the content that it is scraped, right, in LLM understandable form, which is nothing but vectors, right? So we don't have to do anything, and also you can ask like whether it supports or only ChromaDB. Do we have any option to add, or what are all the DBs that it supports? It supports lots of information, lots of DBs such as OpenSearch and everything. So we can go through their documentation. That is also possible, and also here it scrapes and it will store into something which can be understood by LLM. So LLM understands only numbers, which in turn we can call it as vectors. Okay, so three-dimensional vectors. So it will also use embedding model. So it will not just take the content and convert into something. Some model should be there, right? So there's a model for doing all those things. We'll have embedding model, which converts the text into vectors and store it in database. So that is also configurable. If you don't use anything or if you don't mention anything, so CrewAI by default will be using OpenAI models or OpenAI embedding models. That is that will be used as a default model for anything. So that is what it has done. You can just go to this DB.
So does CrewAI support other LLMs or only OpenAI?
No, it can support any LLM, as I said, right? So this is an LLM where you can define the provider name and the model. So you just have to, it will be connected to that particular provider. You just have to define and configuration parameters such as maximum tokens or anything. So you have to define those parameters as many as possible. So everything will be taken care by CrewAI. So it can support all kinds of models.
But we didn't define any embedding model as such, right?
So that is what. If you don't define it, it will be using OpenAI embedding model. So there is an option to define it using configuration. So you can go through the documentation. So using that, we can define, it can also support sentence transformers embedding model, which is all me, which is open source. Actually, it is free, but we are using OpenAI embedding model. So yeah, if you don't define it, it will be using OpenAI model as in the backend, even for embeddings.
Okay, so for each of the web pages, it is creating a vector index, is it? Vector
Yes,
D. Vector
yes.
D.
Yeah, it creates the index. Yes.
Okay.
So it's that easy with CrewAI, where we don't have to worry about setup and everything. So the first 3 steps we are done. We are done setting up. So the initial setup is done. So are we clear till step 3?
Yes.
Okay. So the next steps is what we do to set up the cruise. So we will set up a cruise. To set up the cruise, first of all, we have to define an agents. We have to define its task. So we'll do for both of the cruise, and then we will define the flow, and then we will start the application. 1 second. So let's go to step 4. Here we'll have a document assistant crew. In our workflow, we said that we'll have 2 agents in that crew, right? Code context retriever agent and concept demonstrator agent. So whatever the query that you put, it will now it won't go to web link or URL link that you've given. So now it will go to this database and search the relevant part. So that is the important thing here. So it won't go to net and do it. It will go to our Chroma SQLite, which it has been created when we executed that particular step. Here you can see all this entire website is chunked and it has been given here. So like that, it has different configurations. You can go through it. So you don't have to worry about it. You just have to, it's just for reference. So it won't go to internet. Instead, it will go to our vector database. That's all. So yeah, so we will define an agent. It will context retriever. It retrieves the relevant context from this database, and then it will send to our agent, which is a concept demonstrator. With that as a reference, it should demonstrate the concept with explaining beautifully, like with code and everything. So that concept demonstrator agent will be doing, and these 2 agents and tasks will be part of document assistant group. Okay? So every agent, what CrewAI does is every agent should be defined as role, goal, backstory. So there are several other attributes as well, but these 3 are non-negotiable. You will have to define what is the role of the agent, what is the goal of the agent, what is the backstory of the agent. It's just your prompt. So we'll see that here. So role is nothing but define what agent does, right? It is you have to give proper context to that agent, to the LLM. Like you should think in this way. You should not think generally. You should think in this way. You should think as a software engineer. You should think as a researcher. So it will give the answer in that perspective. Okay, it's very important for us to define a rule. And the goal is you just have to specify the primary objective of what that particular agent do. For the first agent, context retriever agent, it has to retrieve the context. So this is the goal. And backstory. If you are dealing with software engineering or something to do with technicalities, you can also mention backstory is it's non-negotiable. It is mandatory. You have to define it, but it sets as a extra context for that particular agent. For example, you can say that okay, you have experience, these many years of experience in this particular field, and you can mention the backstory. Like that, you can mention like detailed information about that particular agent. It's like how you define anyone, right? Define an employee. You can also define an agent. Role, goal, and backstory. It's just a good way of prompt. It's not good, like, it's not that we have to prompt in this way. 1 second. Yeah. Yes. So it's just QA maintains the clean way of defining instructions. So can't just if you are using any other framework, we will be having actually like we can prompt anything that we want, but we may not find like we may not follow the format so that LLM does not understand most of our prompts like when it is cluttered. But you agent with QA it gives all of these functionalities where it forces us to give good promptings where they will be able to divide it role, goal, and backstory. If you don't define any of this, of course, it will lead us to validation error. We will have to define. So with this good way, we will get a relevant good answer. Okay. So this is these are the agent parameters, and then we have a task. As I said,
So,
each agent will.
Tanushree, I think just take a look at the questions and then see if there's anything pending until now, and then you can move ahead. I think there was a question on step 3, I think, by Riaz about defining the tool. How do you define the tool?
It's just that we have to import it. So there are different tools from QAI. So one such tool that we will be using is Code Doc Search tool. With this library, all these libraries are installed. We'll just have to import this Code Doc Search tool, and then in that third step, we will just import it and we'll pass this docs URL parameter to that particular class with the website links, so the documentation link. So then that's how you define the tool. Are we clear?
Tanushri, I have been facing a
Is it
validation
possible for you
error
to
on
rerun
step
the
3.
Step 3, is it? Can you run? Are you sure you executed all the cells?
Yes.
Make sure can you execute first, second, and third explicitly, please? What is the validation error that you're getting?
It's mentioning some pydantic error.
Step 3, is it? Can you
Yes.
share us the screenshot?
Yeah, I'll put it in chat.
Yeah, any other questions? Please go ahead. We'll take a note.
So I just had to add that extension, right? SQLite Viewer, right? So all that Chroma and DB automatically they are getting created, right?
But once you run this particular cell, right, the third one, the step 3, once you run this, this website content will be stored in that vectors, and that is when it creates, not when you actually install it. It is just to view the database we have created, we have installed that extension. Once you run the step 3, right, so that is when it gets created.
Right. So I don't have to specify that, right? In my application that I have to use ChromaDB or anything of that sort.
You can specify, you can set as a configuration that is also possible on what actual database, vector database that you have to use. That is also possible. You can mention, you can define it in a configuration.
A quick question. Here you are doing an agent task kind of a mapping. So does it mean one agent can have multiple tasks?
Yes, yes. One agent can have as many tasks as possible.
Now the example that you're showing is a retriever agent, right? So it essentially cannot have so many tasks. There's a limitation on the kind of agent we have defined here, right?
It depends on your use case. So I would suggest to keep tasks limited as possible. Agent one agent or two tasks or one task to a particular agent, because we should not overwhelm it, right? It might not give as effective answer as we require. So that's sufficient.
Okay, so one agent can have multiple tasks and multiple tools, right?
Yes. That is why we will pass all those tools in a list. So we can mention, I'll also show how the tools are passed to an agent. It will be passed in a list. So you can make use of, like you can pass as many tools as possible. You can create your custom tool as well. You can create your whatever that is available in the QA. So that is also possible.
This code search tool that we are using is a custom tool, or is it inbuilt with that comes with Crew AI?
It comes with Crew AI. You can see that I have imported it with Crew AI tools.
Crew AI tools. Yeah. Okay.
So correct me if I am wrong, right? So I have an agent. So to agent, I'll be giving a task, and tasks are having tools. Is it correct? Or
1 second, I can show it to you. We will get there actually. So yeah. So for agent.
So for agent, we are specifying tools, right? So where we have specified task.
Task here. So let me get there, okay? So I'll just wait for few people to actually like complete the step 3. So we'll get there.
Okay.
And
so currently we have attached that tools directly to the agent, right? Currently?
Yeah. That is how we pass the tools.
So there are no tasks as such till step number 3, right?
No.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
And what is the length of the embedding that is being created?
Length in the sense, ChromaDB, I think it supports 384 dimensions, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah, can you just show like what is stored after in ChromaDB SQLite 3?
So this is the full
all the embedding version of this.
Embedding, and its related configurations. And each embedding will be having its ID. So that's how they process it in the ChromaDB. So yeah. Full text search. So all of this content will be stored. So you can use whatever the DB that you are comfortable in and then store it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. 1 second. I will paste the URL. Someone said that document validation errors you're getting. So I'll paste the code itself. Can you just check it?
Yeah, I tried with it, but still facing the same error. So I'm restarting the lab.
Sure. Just in case, I've pasted. Yeah. So we'll go to step number 4. As I said, each agent will be having a role, goal, and backstory, and each task will have description and what agent should perform that task, which is nothing but agent name, and the expected output on how do we want our output should be. It can be a well-documented Python script with error handling. You can mention anything that you want. So it's a structured way of writing an instruction for an agent. So through Crew AI. So if you don't use all of this, right, description, agent, and expected output, there would be a validation error. So the attributes of agent are role, goal, and backstory, and each agent can have multiple tasks, and task has a description, agent, and expected output. So here we have 2 agents, right? Context retriever agent and concept demonstrator agent. So as of now, to keep it simple, I have only one task for like each agent will be having single task. So context retriever agent will have context retrieval task, concept demonstrator agent will have concept demonstration task. You can see in the workflow as well. So the attributes of agent are role, goal, and backstory, and each agent can have multiple tasks, and task has a description, agent, and expected output. So here we have 2 agents, right? Context retriever agent and concept demonstrator agent. So as of now, to keep it simple, I have only one task for like each agent will be having single task. So context retriever agent will have The context retrieval agent will have context retrieval task, concept demonstration agent will have concept demonstration. So this is how we define it. It's just simple. We'll define anything. And also you can have any task name. It's not just, it should be related to agents. I mean, context retrieval agent and context retrieval task, it's just for understanding. It can be of any name as well. So you can see we have agent. We just have to, we imported the agent, right? We just have to define it here. Like we have to call this and then instantiate this context retriever agent role. I'm giving it as a context retriever. And then goal is what is the goal of that particular agent? Retrieve the relevant information from CRUI documentation and provide the structured explanation. And then we have a backstory. You are specialized in searching CRUI documentation to extract the most relevant information. So I would suggest keep the instructions of an agent as simple as possible. Whatever the agents, whatever the task or whatever the instructions that you want to dump, right? You can do it in task. So task can be as descriptive as possible, but keep the agent's definitions, the role, goal, and backstory as simple as possible. And each agent can have tools or not. It is optional, but since I'm using tools, I'm defining it and I'm passing it in a link, which is code doc tool. You can pass as many tools as possible, and also you have to mention it in the prompt because that works good in that way. Because while I was developing information, while I was developing this application, I faced a lot of I was not getting any relevant output because I did not specify it in a prompt. So that is also there. Prompt in the sense task description. So let's go there. And verbose, I've set it as true. You can set it as false because this is to see what actually happens when we run the cells, right? When we actually kick off the application, we will see what agent does and everything. So that is why, since we're learning, I set it to true. So we'll see what happens. And memory. Once this memory is true, right? So what happens? I think in the beginning, someone was asking how it converts with each other. So this is all. You just have to set memory to true. That's all. You don't have to do any extra setup or anything. You just have to set memory is to true. So it will retain the conversation. So it will retain the context. And while talking to another agent, it will send the context in the backend. So in the backend also, we are using some ChromaDB itself to maintain this kind of memory, and then they will send the relevant information to the next agent. So that is how they are maintaining. Yeah, but we don't have to worry about that, right? So we just have to set a memory is equal to true. This just run this cell. You don't have to copy paste or anything. Just run it. It is already in that Python cell, and each agent will have a task.
So
Yes.
I have a question there. In memory. So if we set the memory as true, then if we are building a conversational AI, then we don't have to pass the previous conversation explicitly, right?
Yeah, that this is for agent configuration, but I think even I was checking it. Even I was curious about this. Maybe this is to retrieve memories, just to have maintain the context between two agent conversations.
Okay.
But probably we might have to set. Or I think another thing which I was reading morning is Lem0, I guess. So it is supported by CrewAI, where it can maintain the conversations for different users. Maybe we'll have to create an ID and then it can keep track of each agent's or each user's memory. So that is also one possibility. This is just I was reading it, so it's a thought.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, as I said, the description. So description should be as descriptive as possible. So you can see, I'll just give a minute. You can just go through the definition, what I've done. You can also stick, I'll also have added this a placeholder. This is a input. So this, when I actually start an application, right? When I actually kick off this crew, I will pass the input from there. So that input will come and sit in this particular folder. Particular placeholder. Okay. So once I go to that part, I will just show you. But yeah, this is just a context that I'm setting. So why are we using it in a curly braces? So the actual feedback and everything that we will be sending, and then it will be storing. This thing will be acting as a placeholder. And then agent context retriever and expected output, exact excerpts from QA documentation, focusing on code examples and official implementation details, and output file. So I want this task output should be stored somewhere so that I'll be able to see it. Right? That is also possible. You don't have to write a separate code where you get an output and then store it. No. You just have to, if there's one attribute, output file, and you just have to set the file. So that is it. Yeah.
So where
the
are you
next
defining
is,
this feedback parameter?
That here, maybe I'll go there and I'll show you once I reach that step.
Okay, we can read.
Yeah. And then we have a concept demonstrator agent. As I said, there are two agents, right? So the role I'm giving is concept demonstrator. I'll go also I've given, explain the retrieved concept in a structured manner, and the backstory also I've given. And tool, I'm using the same tool because it should also, it retrieves context. I know the context retrieval agent will retrieve the context, that is for sure. Just to make sure, I'll also pass again the same tool code document just to get the code, whatever the example that is there in the documentation. I need the exact example of an extra context. So for that also I'm using the tool, the same tool. I'll just pass it. And then with that as a reference, with the concept, with the retriever or the context and the concept and the code, it will be able to demonstrate the concept. So the same thing, I have set it to true and the memory is true. I just run this. Here also you can see the task is comparatively, the task is okay. So there are, I think by mistake, we have two tasks, I mean redundant tasks for context retrieval. Okay, so we can just ignore the first task. So even if it is executed, it will just overwrite it. Don't worry, this is an honest mistake. Sorry. So we have two redundant tasks. Please don't be confused about this context retrieval task. So concept demonstrator agent. You can read the description and the agents and expected output, and then the placeholders. Whatever the question that we ask, when we kick off or when we start the crew, it will come and secure. And then we will also say that if any feedback is there, address that also. And then I'll assign this task to this concept demonstrator agent and the expected output. So just run this cell. Yeah, we are done setting up with the assistant agent, document assistant agent and task. We are done. So any doubts till now? We'll go to feedback through agents and tasks. So can we have some thumbs ups? Okay.
So in retrieval agent, you are just giving a plain query. You're not doing multi-query or any other kind of variations over there to improve the retrieval.
No. I'm just giving this as this is simple application for the demonstration purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but that
Based
can
on
be
the use
done,
case,
or
yes.
there are options available to define within this, or how do we do that?
We can just define another agent to actually look into, as we are defining the feedback agent, feedback routes, right? So we can also demonstrate, we can have feedback agent which can think like which can say that whether this retrieval is good or not, rank it, and then if it is not, retrieve it. You can have agent can give other extra information, so that information can be used for retrieval. So all this can be done. It's on us on how we use it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go to this feedback rules. So in that feedback rules define out, we will be defining the output schema. As I said, one of the good features that we have from QA is we'll be able to define schema instead of giving it in prompt. We will be eventually giving it in prompt, but QA in backend will also validate it. So that is that we'll see what I'm telling, and then we'll define the format instructions, and then we'll set up feedback agent and task. So yeah, that's that. So first, this is why, because once we get a concept, whatever the output that we got from first a crew, right, document assistant crew, it will go to feedback crew for feedback. So the output of the feedback crew should look like this. So this is how we mention it. So I'll also show that this is what it should look like, right? So it should be like a JSON object. Is a valid true feedback. Actually, if the code or whatever the output that we got from document assistant crew is valid or not, so it will be either true or false. And this is not a string. This is a JSON object. So this is the main advantage. And then the actual feedback. So how do we define? How do we know? Like how do we define? Like how we get it, right? So that is why we have a pydantic schema where we'll define a class for it. We can define as many as many output schema as possible based on the requirement. You can have different output structure for different kinds of agent. But for me, the first one I want it in a raw format. The document assistant agents and tasks. I need it in a raw format. But for this, because this I will write a logic, right? Whether it is true, it should go. If it is false, it just come out. So that is why I need it in a JSON format so that I can easily pass it and get the value. So that is the important, and that is also supported by QA. So I'll tell that I need value to be a Boolean value, and the description. This is a natural language description. You can have a description as descriptive as possible based on the requirement, and the feedback. Is this a string? This I need it in a Boolean value, and this should be string. So we will check once we get the output, right? Through AI in the backend, our output will also go into validation. So it will actually check whether it is a Boolean or if it is a string. If not, it will actually, it has some mechanisms to retry it again. So that is also there. So I'm with this schema, valid and feedback, I'll get it. Once I pass this, I'll get the output in this format. Valid, which comes with Boolean values and the feedback. Okay. Are we clear on why pydantic schema or structured output schema is required? Any doubts or anything? Okay. So the same thing I have explained it here. And then I'll just copy paste it. I'll copy paste the code. We'll put it in tryout block and run it. I'll just close the explanation part. Run. And then format instructions. So as I said, this will be eventually going to the prompt itself and create in the backend once we get the response from the agent, and then it will be validating. So how are we sending it in the prompt? So there should be some instructions, right? Like instruction that it should say that it should give it in this format. So that is the reason we have we have multiple templates in the LangChain. From the LangChain, I've imported this pydantic output parser, and then I've passed this feedback class. Okay, this class, pydantic class, I have passed it, and it will give me the natural language instruction so that I can pass it in a task description or anywhere. So I can pass it. So I can just show you that, copy it. And then I'll just print it. You can also print it and see it. Print the format instructions. Yeah, you can see this is the output schema, and it is, see, whatever that we give, it might not be as descriptive as possible for the instructions. We can also tell it, but we have a templates, right? We have all this kind of templates. Let's make use of it. So we'll just create this format instructions, and this will be eventually going to that particular task in the expected output column. Are we clear on this? So now that we have defined the structured output on how we want and what we want, so we'll go to feedback. We'll define the feedback agents, right? So we have a code, we just have to run it. So the role is feedback evaluator, goal, and backstory. And then there's a backstory, you can read it. And the LLM, I'm using the same LLM. You can use multiple LLMs, like different LLMs for different agents. So that is also possible. And then I'm setting verbose to true and the movie to true. And feedback agent, the task would look like this. I'm mentioning the criteria. Like this is what it should be reviewed on. Whatever the output that we get, it should be reviewed on these criteria, and also I'm passing the context. Whatever the context that we get from that context agent and the user question and the explanation that we get from the code demonstrator agent. So all of it, I will pass it. So how do I pass it? I'll just show it in the end. But yeah, think that I will pass it and it will come and sit in this placeholders. Got it? And expected output, I'm giving the format instructions which we have defined above. And the agent, I'm assigning the task to feedback agent and the output by identity keys. And also this is one such one extra thing that we have to get, we have to give if you want output in a structured format. So output by identity is nothing but the feedback class, the class that we have defined. We just have to pass it and run it. That's it. We are done with setting up feedback agents and tasks. Are we clear on this? So if you are clear, give us some thumbs ups. So now we are done setting up feedback agent and task and whatever the agent that we want to set up, we are done. So we'll set up the crew. So it's just that whatever the crews, whatever the agents and tasks that we have defined, we will be passing that respective crews. That's all. This is what the step is all about. Okay. So I have assistant crew, I have feedback crew. So we'll call this crew, we'll instantiate this crew by calling this crew class, and then we will pass agents and tasks. Agent for this particular crew, I have two agents: context retriever agent and concept demonstrator agent. Task also context retrieval task and concept demonstrator task. And the feedback also the same way. We will we will pass the required agents in the respective crew in the list. But same for the task as well. So it's just that easy. Pass the crews. Sorry, pass the agent in the respective crews. Done. We are done. Now we will see the flow implementation. So we have defined agents, we have defined crews. Now we will have to connect it, right? So I said that it will go and sit there, do some of the variables, will go and replace a placeholder or something. We will actually see how do we do it in this particular step. Okay. So here, this is the flow. Basically, this flow that we get from QAI itself, this is to maintain or to have control over multiple crews that we are going to define. We can route it, we can listen to the outputs of previous crews. So all this is possible. So first, I will mention the state variables. Why do we need state variables, right? So the flow will have multiple crews, right? So those crews output or whatever the output or whatever the variables that you define here, that will be there throughout the execution of the flow. Okay. So for example, if you get an output from first crew, it will go and sit here. So for second crew, if it needs the output of the first crew, it will go to the state variable and then access it, and then we will send then we will kick off the next crew. So basically, whatever that variables that we are going to define in this particular class, this class, yeah, what are the variables that we are going to set up in this particular class? It is available throughout the execution. That's all. Okay. So are we clear on the state variables? So I've defined code, doc, question and answer. This is basically the question and answer or the content or the output from the first crew. And then we have a feedback that is from second crew. And then we have valid, this is actually the output of the feedback crew, and then we have retry count, we have retrieved context, code explanation, question, the user input. So all of this I want to access throughout. So each of the crew should have an access, should have an access to all of these variables. So that is why we define it in the state. So are we clear on the state variables? Why do we do it?
Can you please elaborate it once again? It's quite difficult to keep pace with
Yes.
thing.
Okay, no problem. So whatever the variables, first of all, we'll get an output, right? For each of the crew, we'll get an output. So we are going, as I said, we are going to wrap all the crew in the flow. So once we get an output from one crew or anything, so it should be available in the flow, right? So how do we, like, for example, if we get it from document assistant crew, that should be used by the next crew, which is feedback crew. So how does it access it? So we will define it in this particular state variable. Okay, so it can be accessed throughout, all these variables can be accessed throughout this flow. Whatever the variables that we want, and we want to access it throughout the flow class, so that we will be using, that we will be defining it in the code flow state. These are state variables. Yeah. Any like, is it clear now? So if it is not clear, I'll just once we actually go through that flow and everything, you will be able to understand. So just understand that we have to define a state variable, which we will be able to access it throughout the flow execution. That's all. So now comes the actual flow. I can have n number of methods in the flow, this particular class. This is a custom flow, right? So I'll first have a method to get the user input. Let's make this interactive without, it's just, we cannot, like, we don't want to have explicit questions. We will just ask user to input what they want, and then we will find a respective answer for that. So for that, we have defined this get user input method, where it will actually prompt the user to give the question. And then the other two, this is where it starts. So this is the start decorator. So this retry, I'll explain it later. First thing, that this is a start decorator. So once, if it is decorated with start, this is where once this particular class or flow is kicked off, or once we start it, when we start the flow, this is the first method which is going to execute. Okay, so that is what, you just, it's as simple. You don't have to write legacy code or anything. It's just that you have to decorate it with start, and then whenever the flow is kicked off, flow is started, this particular method will be executed first. So we'll see what this particular method does, right? Retry, we will see later. And then this is generate code documentation method. We will check if it is there in the state or not. If there is a question in the state or not, we will first, just don't think of this. We will just get the question, and then we will call this crew, right? So we had defined the assistant crew. We were asking, like many of you asked, how we will be passing the inputs and how will sit in the placeholder. This is how. So this is how you start crew. Now with this method, first I'll be starting the assistant crew, because then only the feedback crew will be kicked off, right? Once we get something from the assistant crew, then only feedback crew will be kicked off. So first, in the first method, I will kick off the assistant crew, and this kickoff method is from crew AI. So this is the standard way of kicking off the crew, and this is how we pass the inputs to dictionary. The question will be self.state.question, and the feedback will be self.feedback, state.feedback. Initially, the feedback will be none, because we will also, we are using LLM to review it, right? Give the feedback and everything. Initially, of course, the feedback is none. So that is also we have mentioned in the description. If only if feedback is present, then only you address those feedbacks. If not, you will just have to give it according to what it is supposed to give. So this is what like it is done. This is how it is done. Assistant crew kickoff. It is just crew name kickoff with inputs as a dictionary. This question, whatever the users type, right, that will go and sit in this variable, and that variable will be assigned to this particular key. And the feedback, it is none. And then once we get the result, right? So we will get some result from the crew, right? Crew has two tasks. This particular assistant crew has two agents. So I want to access the output of those agent as well. Output of those particular tasks, not the agent. Task output. Each agent will be having any number of tasks. So I need one, as I've defined only one task. I will be accessing the output of each of the tasks which is there in the assistant crew, because I want to retrieve the context, actual answer of that particular agent, actual output of retrieve agent task, and actual output of code explanation agent or code demonstrator agent task. I will access it. Why do I access it? Because I want to check, right? When the question in the feedback, I have to check when whether this particular question, for this particular question, the retrieval and the concept that is demonstrated, both are like all three complement each other, or all three are relevant to each other. So that is why I have to pass this inputs to the next crew. In the feedback crew, you can see that I have passed it. You can go to this task, right? Feedback task. I will pass. This is the context return. This is the user question, and this is the code explanation. So all this complement each other is what I will check it. So that is why I'm retrieving the outputs of each of the tasks so that I can pass these variables in the next group, next feedback loop. Are we clear on this?
Tanush,
Should I
if you can
explain?
just zoom in on the part where the output of the first agent is being read by the second.
Okay. So output of first agent conversation will not be able to see it, because that will be done by crew AI itself in the backend. They will take care of it. All we have to set memory is equal to true. But here we are going to read the like crew output, not the agent output, total crew output. First crew output will be sent to another crew. So that output we are going to see. So that is why I've set it here, right? So first method, this is a generate code documentation method. We will kick off the crew. We'll get some whole output of the crew. And then I'll also retrieve the task of one context retriever agent, and retrieve the task of code demonstrator agent. And then I will set it to the state variable. So these variables will be replaced by the actual task. Now it is empty. These variables will be replaced by actual task. And then when I go to the next one, right, router, because we will route it. How do we route it? I'll tell you. I'll check this, right. If the state retry count is greater than 3. The second method, if it is greater than 3, I will return the string itself, maximum retry exceeded. So what happens, right? So the next method will listen. The next method will listen if to the actual string. If it is completed, it will write it in the file. If it is not completed, or if maximum retry exceeded, it is actually not listening to any condition, actually the string. So then it will print the required, whatever that is printed, it will print all those things. If not, I'll explain it again. We will first I'll check, right, the retry count is greater than 3, because I have set it for 3 times. I will see the result is then I will check, I will kick off the crew, because now I can still, it is still 0. This is the first attempt I'm retrying, and this is the first attempt I'm calling the feedback crew. So I'll just kick off it, and then I'll use this code doc question and answer. This is nothing but the actual crew output. This is the actual, I'll just write it. This is the actual crew, first crew output, or document assistant crew output. This is output of, this is context retriever task output. This is concept demonstrator task output. Okay.
So again, one question here. The assistant crew has got two agents, each has one task. how do we control the sequence of execution? That the first the context retrieval should run, and then the concept demonstration should run. I get the memory equal to true part. That the second one will pick up the memory from the first. But where did we give the sequence of execution or activation of the agents?
Yeah, I got your question. Here, there's another attribute where we will be able to define the process. It's not defined here because default I'll be using sequential process. That's a good question actually. So process is sequential. So once I set the sequential process, it will go from top to down, top to bottom approach. It will start on first, second, third, and fourth, like that. If it is not like if you define hierarchical process, right? So there are two kinds of process that is supported by crew. Crew AI. One is sequential process. Each crew can have multiple agents that can start from it follows top to down, top to bottom approach. It starts with first agent, second agent, and third agent. That is how sequence is maintained. If not, there is another process called hierarchical process, right? So where that is not covered here, you can explore about it. Yeah. So that process, you have to define a manager agent. Each crew has multiple agents. In that, you can define what is the manager agent. So that agent will be able to delegate the work to the required agent based on the role of the agent. So that is also possible in QA.
So suppose we want a conditional execution between agents, then we need to go with the hierarchical, define a manager, and then some business rules.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks
for the question.
So one question I have on this process side. So if the process is, parallel, then we need these tasks to be, in different crew altogether. How do we make it?
If you define a manager agent, right? If you don't have codependency of each of the agents, you can define the manager agent. For example, if you define, suppose you think that there are three agents. One is manager agent and researcher agent and content writer agent. So it will actually manager agent will assign all those. Yes. Manager agent will assign those tasks to each different kind of agent based on the rule. Again, if you have parallel, if you want to do work in parallel, you can define all those agents, and manager agent will be able to delegate those tasks to those particular agents. Yeah, it can work in parallel as well. That is also possible.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, you are right. This is the context retriever task, and this is the concept demonstrator task, and this is the actual output. There is actual document assistant crew output. So all of this you got it at the first part, and then in this particular method I will kick off the crew. I'll kick off the feedback crew, and then I'll define the in this inputs I will send that documentation question and answer, which is nothing but this the retrieved the actual crew output, which is actual document assistant crew output, and then I'll pass the format instructions as well, and I'll also pass the retrieved content from that retriever agent, and also I'll pass the code explanation content from the demonstrator agent, and I'll pass the user question as well. So that should take care all of the feedback agent will be seeing all of this, right? Or whether this particular question, or whether whatever that is passed, right? Code documentation, context, and code explanation, and everything are relevant to what user is asking. If it is true, if it is asking, then validation will be true. That valid part, it will return as true in the JSON. If not, it will return as false with additional feedback. Then I will send the actual feedback to the this particular crew. How do I send it? It is with the router. So it will actually go back to this generate code documentation question and answer when the validation is false. And then I will update the retry content if it is valid, right? If it is valid, of course, it will be true. I'll return the completed string to the next. I'll return the completed string. If not, I'll return the retry string. Once, how do I does it identify, right? So once I send the retry string, you can see it should also listen to this retry. If it returns, and then if router is also mentioning this particular function to call, so it will go to that function. It will, okay, now they are telling me to retry, and again the same process will be followed. So this again I'm checking, because I don't want user to give the question every time, right? This is because this feedback is happening for only the same question which is user has asked. So that is what I'll check, that if the state question is already set, it is already asked. If not only, then you'll have to prompt the user. If it is asked, that is fine. You can just start the crew. Now it will go back with the actual feedback, and that feedback will be sit in that feedback placeholder, and then it will work according to the feedback that it is given. So if this like this, it goes like it tries for like 3 times, and then if it is valid, it won't try again. If it is valid, it returns completed, and this function will be listening to this completed string. If it matches, then it will go to this particular. We'll write this method where we whatever the output that we got from the first row will be written in this particular file. If not, we'll just give some log information. That's all. That's how flow works. And this is just a method to start the flow, where you'll just create an object, and then there is an object. Even to kick off the crew, even to kick off the flow, there is only one method. So no more confusions on that. So kickoff is the method that is being used by Crew AI to kick off the crew as well as flow. So now I've created an object. Now I'll kick off. Are we clear on this flow part? Okay. So I'll just copy it. I'll paste it. I'll remove the extra lines, which is giving error. I'll run it. Now we are done. You are done. We just have to start the application. You can just start the application. You can just call the start function. That is also fine. Here in the app, you can see, right, the top of the screen, you'll get a prompt. So I'll check how do I create an agent in Crew AI. Let's see how it does, how it answers. When you set the verbose to true, you can see all this kind of information. You can go through it, how it serves and everything. You can see the retrieved context code. I had defined output file, right? It has come here. So it goes back to feedback. It also checks, yes, it is true, and the feedback is good. And then my execution is completed. You can see this is the retrieved context, and this is the actual context, actual output of this entire application. You can go to this preview, right? Click on this. You can see, you can visualize it properly. Are you able to see it? So it's like it will be nice, right? So whenever we ask an application, when a question about the anything, any technicalities in the documentation, it comes with the code, it comes with the explanation and everything. So it will be very good. Are we on the same pace? Are you guys able to see the output? If you don't know where to see the give the input, it's when you run the start application, in the top of the screen, you will get you'll be prompted to give the input. So once we are done, I think we have a small exercise. It's very easy.
What kind
exercise.
of questions to ask to this?
Since we have provided we provided document URL, right? QA documentation URL. You can ask anything about QA documentation. So I asked, how do I set up an agent? It gave me good response with concept breakdown and actual code and everything. Right?
How it decides is code document is valid, where the decision making is happening.
So that is the feedback. That is the importance of feedback crew, right? So we defined the whole crew just to review whatever that is defined. We can go through that feedback crew on how we have done. So that is how it is happening. It checks whether the question that is asked, whether the retrieved context and the actual output, which is nothing but the code documentation, is valid to what user is asking. That is where it happens. And it gives the output. Feedback crew will be giving valid output.
Can you show that prompt for the decision making? How you make a prompt for decision making?
It's not about the decision making. Okay, decision making is also done. You can see the feedback crew, right? You can see look into this feedback task and agents. Here you can look into it. This is the prompt. On all of this criteria, I have to validate, and I'm actually passing the context, issues, questions, and code explanation. So which will be passed when we kick off it, and then it will come and sit here. So this is where it actually happens. Okay.
Any Boolean condition has been met there?
We'll ask. We'll get an output, right? We will get an output in JSON object. That is another feature where we get it in what you call structured output. So here I've mentioned the schema, right? One second. I have mentioned the schema here, where the output of the feedback crew should come in this JSON format, valid and feedback. It should come. It should look like this. Let me show you. Okay. Yeah, it should look like this. So I will pass through it, and then I will check if it is true, then complete it. It's good. If not, if it is false, then go back with the additional feedback to this particular crew, which is actually generating the content, the first one. So that logic, the Boolean conditions and everything, that is mentioned in the flow. Okay. So here you can see, right?
Visual tool. Is there any visual tool for your main method so that we can understand the process flow? Because I see only the workflow diagram is like a flow chart.
Yeah.
So that gives an input of the main process. That is clear like a flow chart. But based on the code, do we have any tool in Python to understand like how we have in neural networks TensorFlow? Like that, how the flow happens graphically from start to end? Is there any possibility? With our code, with our existing code.
For that, we don't have it in Create with proper tools, but we do have one. Okay, let me show it. Crew.plot, right? There's no visualization tool as such, but there is one tool I can show you. Code doc, our object, flow object. Then I will plot it. Okay. I will define it first. But it won't give the deeper understanding for it. You can see your HTML file. Okay, how do I? Okay, this comes in the HTML. You just have to. Okay, you cannot send the file. From your, how do I? So this with this it will just give the overview of the flow. That's all. So a deeper understanding or deeper view, we don't have any tools in QA for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe if you're trying in your local system, you can try with this plot. You can see how it comes.
Because we used to see in lang graph normally the flow.
Okay.
The same type of flow.
Same type flow. I think with that we will have. It's not that much. Okay, I think I have it. Let me show it. Just how it gives. Just 2 minutes. I'll just search for it and how it actually gives it. Just 2 minutes. Oh. Let's show it here. Yeah, I think I got it. Let me show you how it gives actually. I did it for the same code. This is just the basic overview of what happens. You getting it?
Yeah. Thank you, madam.
Okay, now
What
let's
was
go to
the,
exercise.
can you show the command again to generate it?
Okay, it is you have to create an object and then use dot plot. Let me show you. Dot plot. Maybe you can use it here itself after kickoff, or yeah, after kickoff or before kickoff, you can use it. Dot plot. Okay, so let's go to exercise. I've given the exercise where first few people who complete this will be eligible for vouchers. You just have to run this file as you had done it before by selecting the kernel. But here, this is whatever the application that we developed, we used it with code doc search tool. So likewise, many other tools are available. Here we are using JSON drag search tool. So it will be able to go through any JSON file and then you'll be able to query about it and you'll get an answer. So here, go to this exercise where like I have given what exactly you have to do. So here we have to fill the placeholder with file name and then you have to fill the placeholder with agent and then we'll have to pass the task, these three exercises, and then you have to print it. So once you print it, please send the screenshot of the printed output over the chat. So first 5 people will be rewarded with the vouchers. Are you sure? Am I clear about this exercise? So this is the data, JSON data, and this is the exercise. Yeah, this is what you're going to query.
If you're not able to add the screenshot, adding to what Tanushri said, if you're not able to add the screenshot, if it's taking time for you to finish, you can also email us the screenshot of your output. We'll drop the email IDs in the chat.
Can you please repeat what the exercise is?
Yeah, we have used code doc search tool. Here we will be analyzing the JSON file, and then you will be able to query it. So more about the exercises I've given. Most of the things are filled where you have to in the exercise column. You just have to read the instructions and do whatever that is required. Okay. So if, for example, you are I have instructed to do something, you have to do it, and also the same thing. I have properly instructed on what you have to do. So yeah, follow the instructions, and for reference, I think this is not that difficult. For reference, you can just go to the file that I have explained and fill these templates and print the output result and send it over chat or email.
Since we are nearing towards the end of the session, if you have any questions towards Tanush as an expert, please do ask them.
So one question here, it's Prakash here. How we implement guardrails in this multi-agent framework?
That feature, we don't have it yet. Maybe if we want to implement it, you just have to define another agent and define all of your rules, guardrails, and then you have to just like review, you can have feedback for that as well, where your outputs can go through all of these rules, and then it will validate it, and then it will be given to a user. So, but if in future QA comes with this kind of capabilities, I think yes, we can use that.
Thank you.
We would also love to hear your reviews about the session today, and also about Tanush as an expert, and also about the recording and the session today. The recording would be available in the next week, basis whatever the questions are, and we'll share the YouTube link with all of you. We shall also like your reviews about the session today. We should share the link for the feedback form with you, which is on G2. And please do put in your reviews over there. My colleague, I would just be adding the link for G2 over here now. Do share your notable feedback with us regarding the workshop. And we shall definitely get in touch with you soon for more such workshops with our experts. The lab would be active for 2 more hours, so total 6 hours. No, 3 more hours. Yes, 3 more hours. So you can also make sure that you're submitting your output later and send it to us over the emails. And like I mentioned in the start, we shall be sharing the certificate of participation with everyone, and definitely also choose some winners based on the outputs and the results that you're sharing. So I request everyone to complete the output and share it with us. Let us know if you have any other questions, and your reviews would mean a lot. I've added the link to the review feedback form. Please do review us over there on G2. And we shall also get in touch with you for more such workshops. Thank you, Tanushri, for a wonderful session.
Just one question I have. I'm repeatedly
Yes.
getting this assistant_crew error, and I've tried rerunning all the cells. I'm not sure what is causing this challenge with this issue.
That you get it because you might have not executed that particular cell where the assistant crew is defined, right? There's a setup crews method where we actually define all of this. Maybe you can start and stop and start the lab and run all of it. Copy paste all the content and then run it. That might work.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, like Girdhar mentioned, please do write to us if you have any more suggestions for the workshop. You can also mention it to us on the feedback form, and we shall definitely be in touch with you for more such workshops in the future.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tanushree. You'll receive the certificates probably in the next 10 days or so, but we shall share the YouTube link with all of you soon.
Hello.
Yes.
So I was trying this Crew AI before also. So what I see a dependency was we don't have that OpenAI credits or token. So for this Crew AI, we need I know, I mean, credits on OpenAI credits, right?
Yes, if you're using any proprietary models like Anthropic or OpenAI, of course, credit is required because we'll be using their API, of course. But if you are into open source, like if you use Olama and all, I don't think that is required. Olama models, that is not required.
Okay, Olama also we can use instead of OpenAI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, regarding the query for the future events, our team would be in touch with you since we have your email ID, and we shall definitely send you the details for the next events as well in the future. Stay updated with Nuvepro, and if you need more such personalized sessions, please do write down to us. The email ID is dropped in the chat, and we shall schedule them for your team. Thank you. Look forward to having all of you again in the next sessions. And please be assured that Nuvepro team would be in touch with you. The G2 access could be blocked because of the organizational policy. If possible, then please do review us through your phone. You could probably use your phone. Thank you so much.
Can you share the project code with us? Will that be possible?
Sure. I'll drop my email ID. If you could just write down to me over there, I will do this for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanushree.
Thank you.
Hello. Where is the screenshot to be shared?
You can share in this chat itself.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. I have shared the JSON output. Is it fine or we need to send the screenshot?
Yeah, no issues.
Okay.